So, what do you know about globalization? Let us see what SpongeBob and Patrick thinks. How about Batman? Don't worry, Lilo. Let us explain. Globalization is the worldwide trend of the economies of the world becoming borderless and interlinked. In business, globalization occurs when companies are no longer limited by their domestic boundaries and may conduct any business activity anywhere in the world. Many companies now sell anywhere, source their raw materials or conduct research and development anywhere and produce anywhere. Trade barriers are falling, and world trade among countries in goods and services is growing faster than domestic production. Money is flowing more freely across national borders. Companies seek the best rates for financing anywhere in the world. And also investors look for the best returns anywhere in the world. Here's the clip to make you more understand about globalization in business.
What is globalization? Toyota cars are made by a Japanese corporation, but the chassis of the car are made in England, the engines in Wales, the tires in Japan, the wiring in China, the seatbelts in the Czech Republic, and the headlights in France. Like many goods that we're familiar with, these cars are manufactured in a number of different places in the world. This is an expression of globalization. In 1986, global trade reached a scope of approximately $2,000 billion US, and 10 years later, it reached $5,200 billion US. As a result of this 260% increase, foreign-made products that were rarely seen in countries around the world prior to globalization became a common sight. Globalization is much more than international trade, global chains, and cheap goods. Globalization is a process where countries around the world are becoming closer in a number of areas. It influences people, immigration, employment, ideas, and knowledge. 21% of Canadians were not born in Canada. 69% of Kuwaitis are foreigners, and factories of international companies are built in various places around the world, employing numerous workers. Many goods are manufactured and sold identically around the world. Globalization changes the face of society, is the source of demonstrations and revolutions, presents us with faraway cultures, and even allows us to pursue justice around the world. The main economic expression of globalization is international trade, and it brings knowledge within reach, enriches our knowledge, and expands it. World trade has grown at twice the rate of the global economy since 1960, partly as a result of globalization in the financial markets, payments, injections of capital, and cross-border investments. Global trade has caused the rise of many world powers in history: Marco Polo in 1306, Columbus in 1492, Bretton Woods in 1945, and the fall of the Berlin Wall in 1989. In the long term, it is apparent that financial empires overcame military powers. In the late 20th century, global trade made China into the power that it is. With cheap manpower, China created an enormous export machine that many claim have harmed numerous industries around the world, such as the textile industry. The factors that drive globalization cannot be stopped.
After we watch the video, how the globalization impacts on Indonesia. Indonesia is the world's largest island country, with more than 17,000 islands. Indonesia is the world's 14th largest country in terms of land area and world's 7th largest country in terms of combined sea and land area. It has an estimated population of over 261 million people and is the world's 4th most populous country, the most populous Austronesian nation, as well as the most populous Muslim-majority country. The emerging globalization has raised the economic integration among countries. Some view it as a beneficial process which is a key to future world economic development, inevitable and irreversible. Others regard it with hostility and fear, believing that it increases inequality among nations, threatens employment and living standards, and obstructs the social progress. Despite all of the controversy, globalization has clearly created many new opportunities and requires every nation to keep up the pace in order to stay competitive. Now let's talk about the positive impact of globalization on business in Indonesia. On positive impact, it has allowed countries such as Indonesia to develop partnerships and alliances throughout the world, which has become essential for success recently. The opening of the market for export products. With a record of Indonesian export products are able to compete in international markets. This opens up opportunities for entrepreneurs in Indonesia to deliver quality products creative and required by the world market. The easier access to investment capital from abroad. If investment in Indonesia with a large amount, then it could overcome the scarcity of capital in Indonesia. For example, with the establishment of a factory in Indonesia will create jobs. Vivo is a Chinese company that designs, develops, and manufactures smartphones. Vivo began its international expansion in 2014 when it entered the Thai market. The company quickly followed this up by launching in Indonesia. The tendency of foreign companies to move its production operations to developing countries, such as Vivo moves its facilities operation to Indonesia. With consideration of the geographical advantage like abundance of raw materials, large areas, and labor is still cheap. Although still very limited and vulnerable to changes in socio-political conditions in the country or global changes, Indonesia has the opportunity to be elected as a new home for the company. The increasing tourism activities. Indonesia harbors great attractions for tourists. Beautiful countryside, interesting cultures and historical remnants, beaches, and much more. Tourism in Indonesia is an important component of the Indonesian economy as well as a significant source of its foreign exchange revenues. The vast country of sprawling archipelago has much to offer, from natural beauty, historical heritage to cultural diversity. According to the World Travel and Tourism Council, the direct contribution of travel and tourism to Indonesia's GDP in 2014 was $26,162 million, constituting 3.2% of the total GDP. The tourism sector ranked as the fourth largest among goods and services export sectors. In this case, job opportunities in the field of tourism increase as well as a promotional event for Indonesian products. And then, it attracts more foreign tourists to have the opportunity to enjoy the natural beauty and traditional culture in Indonesia. Now what about the negative impact of globalization? The evidence of globalization is everywhere, but it is important to recognize that not everyone is in favor of it. Negative impact of globalization. 1. Possible loss of export market in Indonesia because of competition from other countries' production cheaper and quality. Economic globalization opens up market opportunities for a country's products to the international market. This causes competition amongst many countries to be more productive and competitive. This could cause a loss of export market because our domestic product can't compete with those foreign products. Small exporters from developing countries, like Indonesia, also often lack the marketing network and brand names to make inroads into other country markets. Although transnational companies can help them, the margins and fees they charge are often very high. the international coffee market, for example, the coffee earnings of retail sales had more than doubled. Yet, coffee exporting countries, like Indonesia, received about half their earnings a decade earlier. 2. The flood of imported products in the Indonesian market to shut down businesses in Indonesia. Due to the cultural and economic developments that have come about through globalization, other companies which manufacture product in different condition can now offer their products in other countries too. That is why a company from the origin country can sell products here at a lower price. Some of the most outspoken critics said that globalization will make the poor people suffer by the flowing of cheap international product to Indonesia. Open trade brought impacts on local industries economically, as many products from abroad, from cheap clothes or toys from China, to milk and meat from Australia, are entering local market. So it gives an effect to Indonesian products less competitive in the market. As a consequence, Indonesians switch to buy foreign products because they think that the quality of foreign products are better than domestic products. Local industries, such as handmade export-oriented cultural products, are suffering from import or unfair competition with international products. Therefore, local companies have to react to withstand the competition. 3. The inflow of foreign trade caused the national trade deficits. Countries are constantly trading back and forth with each other, and this has an effect on the trade balance of each country. When import exceeds export, a country has a trade deficit. Economic trade open market opportunities for foreign products to enter. It gives an effect to Indonesian market being less competitive. Indonesian buyers switch to buy foreign products because they think that the quality of foreign products are better than domestic products. These foreign products also often offered at low price, even sometimes on discount. Without any development, Indonesian product cannot be sold on the market. With products that are not sold in the market will cause inventors who have invested in the company pull back because it was no longer profitable. This could affect economic stability. 4. Globalization transfers investment spending to another country. If an investor has a chance to choose between a country with a competitive advantage and a country with a competitive disadvantage, which will the investor choose? A shift in investment shouldn't be too surprising. If a company decides to move investment to another disadvantaged country, then the country where the company invested its money before will decline. Conversely, the new investment country will be improved. The former country will no longer have a flow of funds, while the new investment country get very large funds. The threat of the world's financial sector are increasingly free and become a means of speculation. Investments that have been planted in Indonesia could easily be withdrawn or revoked if deemed no longer profitable. This can definitely affect the stability of the economy. The use of sweatshop and cheap labor.
There are therefore many sides to globalization which affect almost all aspects of life, causing me to think that the chain of positive and negative effects will continue to grow further. What's important is to realize that globalization itself is neither good nor bad. It just depends how people deal with all the new possibilities in the future.